Republican wave has become a Trump wave for the midterms, but out of control rhinos on Capitol Hill are tonight threatening to kill their political momentum handed to them by President Trump and turn victory into defeat. Katie Arrington in South Carolina joined a long list of candidates now who've dominated their primary contests, embracing the American First agenda of President Trump. They include Roger Wicker of Mississippi, Corey Stewart in Virginia, Lou Barletto in Pennsylvania, Deb Fischer of Nebraska, Greg Abbott in Texas, Adam Laxalt in Nevada, John Cox in California, and Asa Hutchinson in Arkansas. All of this is Rhino Paul Ryan plots his push for amnesty for illegal immigrants, the lame duck speaker announcing he'll hold votes on 2 DACA bills that would create an electoral disaster for Republicans in November.
This is an effort to bring our caucus together, our conference together on immigration. I'm very pleased with our members. Now what we have is an actual chance at making law in solving this problem.
Making law and doing it the Ryan way. He hasn't shown anybody the text. This legislation is being written in back rooms and dark rooms in the dark of night. Our first guest tonight to discuss the severe abyss that awaits those in Congress who sign on to the Ryan ploy for the establishment and, of course, the rhinos, all who will embrace his Ryan first, putting America, well, somewhere around last. Joining us tonight is Republican Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona. He's a member of the House Judiciary Committee and the Freedom Caucus. Congressman, always good to see you. The president with a great showing again in the primaries. It should be clear to everyone, except, of course, for your leadership there in the House and over in the Senate, that if they do not support this president and his agenda, electoral disaster awaits the entire Republican conference. What do you think?
Well, I think that this is Trump's time, and I think that it's easy for people like me to say, look, I got elected on the Trump agenda. President Trump got elected on that agenda. And if you're not going to follow and keep the promises you made, you're not going to probably be around. And that's the key. He made promises to the American people. He's doing everything he can to keep the promises. There are those, not just in Congress, but elsewhere in the political system that don't like Donald Trump. They don't like his agenda. But I'm not even sure it's his agenda. I think it's a personal attack on the president, and so we've got to stand up and say, look, the agenda is this, and this is what we're going to do, and let's get it done. Because if we don't, I think it's going to be disaster for Republicans in the midterm.
I'm curious what you mean. You don't think it's the agenda. I think it is. I don't think you can separate this president from this agenda. This is a man who's recognizing the American working family, the American middle class that has been shrinking. It is now growing. Wages are for the first time in 20 years rising. This economy is all about the prosperity of Trumponomics and the reduction and regulation, the tax cuts, the forward leadership and foreign policy, you name it. Donald Trump has turned this country around in less than a year and a half. And you've got Paul Ryan, who's acting like, as he does the bidding of his masters on K Street, he's selling out your party. And I keep talking to members of your conference, Republican leaders, in point of fact, and including in the Freedom Caucus, Congressman, who act like we're just going to ignore Ryan, and maybe he will not harm us too badly if we follow in lockstep right into the chasm that awaits them in November.
You're right on that, Lou. Look, the agenda is what got President Trump elected. But second of all, let's talk about the DACA for a second. I hear people say, don't say the amnesty word. What do you think the so-called fix to DACA is? It's amnesty. That's everything that the president campaigned against. And I think, and I wrote recently about this, right. I think that opens up a blue wave. Yeah. That's because you're not keeping your promises, and that gets to the Trump agenda all over again. And it's real easy to make it up and say, we're not going to do that. We're not going to, it's not an amnesty, but it is amnesty. And it's not a special pathway to citizenship, but it is. Because anybody else is outside the country when they begin the process legally to come into the country. And so I fear that we're going to see an amnesty bill come out next week.
Oh, I can guarantee it. You know why?
Yeah.
Because you've got so many people in your conference right now. We got 23 who signed on to the discharge petition. Yeah. Sided, I mean, they revealed themselves for what they are. They're not only rhinos, they should be running as Democrats in their home districts. And they've sold out their party. They're selling out their own integrity. And they are working as hard as they can. Again, they think they're part of the resistance, but they don't have the guts to be Democrats. They don't have the guts to be straightforward. Your party is filled with more cowards than at any time I've seen. The Republican Party used to stand for something. It stands now for a sinecure, for a lame duck speaker at the expense of the party itself, which is, in my opinion, now we're going to be talking with Ed Rollins, the smartest political strategist in the country, served in 3 presidential administrations. I think the number is 50, the seats you're going to lose if they sign on to the Ryan sham. And I can't believe that the Freedom Caucus, Mark Meadows, the chairman, Jim Jordan, a co-founder of the caucus, I can't believe anyone in that caucus would stand with that, because they know that he's only doing what Charles Koch tells him to do.
Well, I can tell you I'm not standing for that, because I made a promise. I keep those promises. But I can tell you this, right. When we look at the Republican Party today, it is Trump's party. I think it's moving that way because the people in America support President Trump and his agenda. That's what we should be running as. That's what we should be keeping our promises as. Look, this is real simple. You run an ad that says Donald Trump and his agenda. You talk about all the things that you just mentioned that he's been able to accomplish. And you say, look, there's only one candidate that would support this agenda, and you put out who that is. And then you remind people there's one candidate that would be willing to impeach this president, and you point out who that is. And that's when we're going to start winning these midterm elections again, because that's what the people believe. They want this agenda. They sense it.